Ready?
I think so. My lights aren't ready.
Oh, man. That's good.
Ah, yeah. Try it again.
Getting nervous now.
Welcome, one and all, again.
Good start.
I don't know
But you go pro. It's a lot easier when it was amateur hour.
Amateurs. All right. I also miss when we used to clap. We all had to clap in unison. That felt like clap. That felt like a good team building.
Let's do it. Good luck.
3, 2, 1.
Where were you? You said one anyway.
Yeah.
The 3, 2, 1 is supposed to be the pace you're setting.
Yeah.
And you go 3, 2, 1. It's like you wait another 3 seconds. No.
Oh, now I remember why we stopped doing this because it starts fighting.
What is fucking team building?
You're listening to Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. Comics, television, movies, and more. If it impacts fan culture, we have something to say about it. And now, your hosts, Jordan, Cliff, and Seth.
Welcome, one and all, to a brand new episode of Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. Thanks for joining us. My name is Jordan Lowe.
I'm Cliff Barnes.
I'm Seth. I was going to say another name, but it was an eternal spoiler.
Oh, yeah, don't do that. I haven't seen it yet.
Too bad. You're going to have to just sink back into the dark here. So.
I wonder if that'll work. This is for our video.
That's... Cliff had the lights go out, so we thank you to all the patrons
that are keeping the lights on.
Currently funding Cliff's electric bill.
Yes.
He bought these fancy new lights that change color and pulse and make it magical, and they just went out.
They changed color.
Yeah.
They're black.
Yeah. Not happy. But the show must go on. And guys, I thought I'd bring this up. I went on a trip last week. Had a day off of work. And since the last episode, you were talking about going to Columbus. So this time I went to Columbus.
Yeah, I'm going tomorrow.
And headed up to Columbus, wanted to do some shopping, hit a Target, had some lunch, and then we headed to downtown Columbus.
What'd you have at Target to eat?
Well, I didn't eat at Target, but I went to Target, then I had lunch.
Oh, went to Target, had some lunch,
Yeah.
That's what I heard.
And then we went downtown to the store I'd heard about and never been to before, and it's called Big Fun.
The folks are gone. It's time for Big Fun, Big Fun.
It's in downtown Columbus.
I like it already.
Insert Riverdale music number.
Oh, I'm glad you played this, Cliff.
I know. It was really my inspiration that kind of made me want to go after hearing that.
Big Fun. Now you time it up to what I said.
So this is a retro toy store down there, or up there, I should say, down there, and I didn't know what to expect exactly. We have kind of a local one of those here, but I kept seeing some YouTube videos where some vloggers kept visiting these stores and across the country, and then found out Columbus had one, and I thought, well, I want to go check this out. And so Alicia, Carly, and I went, and it's pretty awesome. Had a great time, great experience. It's not
How big is it?
It's not a real big store. To the point where, and that's kind of what, it's almost overwhelming because they have inventory stacked from the floor to a pretty high ceiling. And I mean, and there's so much stuff there. I walked in, I was like, I immediately I didn't know where to even like focus. I couldn't focus attention just because every like little inch of the store had something I want to look at. And
I'm already claustrophobic just thinking about that. Like,
well, I tell you, I think it stays pretty busy because there were a lot of people in there we were in there like a Thursday afternoon, and there's quite a few employees there. So you kind of like, there was a lot of that, Ohio. Oop, let me get by you there. A lot of that happening, and once I kind of got in there and just like, I just wanted to take my time with it, and because there was so much stuff that a lot of the stuff I've either never seen in person or I've only seen it in a catalog or somebody else's collection.
Just see Cliff like shaking some action figure's hand, like, I'm so happy to meet you, sir.
Well, immediately right in the door, like I walk in the door and I turn to my right and there's this showcase and it's full of like classic 1970s Mego toys. Because I even took a picture of it and I sent you guys a picture of the Fonz. They had the Fonz right out in front of the case. And I mean, it was just jam-packed full. And I turned around and I mean, I look up and they have vintage Star Wars, Millennium Falcons, X-Wings, TIE Fighters, everything, Slave One, everything you can think of. They've got them suspended.
Nope.
They're for sale. They're for sale. But just, I think
fire spray.
But they, they're hanging on fishing line everywhere, and then like, there's just cases of classic Masters of the Universe,
and they hide Ewoks everywhere around the store. And if you find an Ewok,
I found a pack. I found a 2-pack from like 2007 that I'd seen a bunch of times on eBay. That's not exactly a cheap set. And I was like, I'm going to pick this up. So we looked around, and there was just so much to see. And then I finally got to like the back corner, and I came around the corner because they had a bunch of the DC Kenner superpowers in a case. So I was kind of looking at that stuff, and I come around the corner, and like, boom, I hit the vintage Star Wars figure. They've got Black Series too, but like they had just about a full collection of vintage, and they were all in really good shape, and they had a real nice display. So I was just like immediately like, I'm just taking it all in, and they've got stuff in there that is older than I am in Star Wars.
Why did you pay to go to Disney when you could have just gone here?
I know. Well,
get a hotel room in Columbus.
Yeah.
Get a park hopper pass. You can go to the store however many times you want in a day.
I got a feeling on like day 3 or 4, they've probably been like, this guy's pretty sus. But
is that guy still in here?
Yeah. So why does he keep coming in looking at these Star Wars collection? But anyways, no, they had some really cool, super vintage pieces from like the Sears catalog. Land of the Jawas playset. There was a Hoth playset. These were the cardboard playsets. Really cool stuff. So I was kind of looking at some of the figures and this and that, and like, I mean, they are just stacked. And then they have like some still in boxes, in original boxes, and they're just stacked up. And I was just like, oh my God. So I'm asking about some prices and stuff. And anyways, the staff was super great, super helpful. Just drop it, whatever they were doing, if you needed a price or wanted to look at something. So that was pretty cool. My wife, I was kind of looking around to the Star Wars stuff, kept going back to it. My wife says to me finally, she's like, why don't you just get something? And I'm like, no. I got to think about it for 6 months, and then it's gone before I'll pull the trigger on anything. So anyways, she's like, well, let's just get this early birthday present. So came home with some stuff, got a complete 83 Return of the Jedi Ewok Village. The store threw in an extra figure in there and gave me a pack of like Jaws 2 cards for some reason. I still don't know why. The guy was just like, hey, let me see if I got some stuff around here to hand you. And
hey, when you get something like that, let's like that has survived a long amount of time and you have no interest in, and you're like, I don't want to be the person that throws this away. But
seriously, yeah. Like I'm like, what am I ever gonna do with this big old stack of vintage Jaws 2 cards? I was like, okay.
Otherwise known as the back room at my store.
Right.
Boxes and piles of stuff I can't bring myself to throw away.
So
you should just put it out in a thing for free.
You should just start. Yeah, spend $50. You get a whatever.
$50. Yeah. I'd just be like, here, it's free.
Well, we don't want to set any kind of expectations, but yeah, no, it was great. I want to go back because I feel like I'm sure their inventory constantly changes, but I just felt like, man, I could really spend some time in here. So definitely want to go back. I will go back, but yeah, pretty cool trip. I'm super excited. I got the Ewok village here, put a bunch of Ewoks on it and everything. So yeah, pretty cool.
Sweet. That's awesome.
They should become sponsors of our show.
Yeah.
We could say nice things about them.
That's right.
We did.
Much like we'll say nice things about a brand new patron jumped in this week. Made the jump from the old patron account to Patreon. So thank you, Mr. Justin Lowe. Formerly silver level patron Justin Lowe. I don't know what he is now. It's some new classification.
He's gold. He's gold.
He finally made it to gold?
Well, gold, yeah. There's always platinum.
And palladium, of course.
Palladium.
But you got to mine that. You got to you got to go underground.
That's just that's a pipe dream, really. It's a pipe dream.
So
thank you a ton.
Yes,
for your support. And whatever you want to do, you got an idea for a show?
Well, I've said off air like 10 times, 2 episodes that we've already got lined up for him to be on, but we never get around to doing it.
We'll get there. But
we'll we'll have to. We don't want to spoil them though, because we just need to let him know privately what the 2 things he should be preparing.
But yeah, I like this pattern though. Like every time we sit down to record, we've got like a new patron now, or an old patron that's converted over, I guess I should say. So I can't wait to see in 2 weeks who else is gonna join the party on Patreon.
Oh, yeah, come walking in.
It could be you or you or you. And we also love, even if you're not a patron, we love participation. I want to give a shout out to Derek for leaving a comment a while back. But Facebook is garbage. So I got a notification that Derek commented on a post we made, and then I couldn't get to it. When you go to your a business page or whatever, there's some new format that sends you to some thing, and it gives you a list of comments that have been made, and there was no link to it. But in the email, it showed he commented, Coach Mayer sounds like a name from Riverdale. I was like, what a great comment, but I couldn't find it to like it or thank him for that. But
we saw it though. We saw it.
Yes. So
thank you, Derek. We got Jesse gave us a comment just like less than an hour ago. I'll read it here. He said, very much enjoyed the Midnight Mass discussion in our last episode. Absolutely agree. Hamish deserves something for what he did in there. I don't know why, but his dialogue delivery seems so real and powerful to me. We agree. And man, that scene where the choir is at full volume at the apex of the song and then abruptly goes silent. Chills. So good. I listened back to our Midnight Mass discussion also. I thought that was good, except I was so excited. I don't think I barely let Jordan say anything. Every time he started, I know I have a bad habit of just talking over. I'm afraid I'm going to forget what I was going to say. So I don't. I really want to hear what you have to say.
Once you hit advanced age that you are.
Right, yeah. You just got to let me go off.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is like, because I edit the episodes, and some of those discussions, I'm like, it can be really hard to like find a stopping point to input some kind of audio in there. So sometimes I'll just let it go because I'm just like, it's it's not going to do anything for it. So I just let you go.
I'm curious, if your one friend there, Jordan, liked it. Who was it she was asking?
It was Tiffany.
Yeah. So, yeah, good. Thanks, Jesse. Let us know. Yeah. And
I re-listened to our review of Last Night in Soho, just cringing that I didn't explain myself at all. The way what was in my brain did not come out my mouth.
Right.
I'm not going to get back into it and dig my hole any deeper.
Good.
That just happens sometimes with all of us.
All right, so we've all seen some movies here recently, so let's talk a few movies.
Save Martha! Puny God.
I'm just a kid from Brooklyn. I'm Batman.
Kneel before Zod! On the roof!
Said it yourself, bitch. We're the Guardians of the Galaxy.
So what's it gonna be, huh? Long sullen silence? Or mean comment? Go on.
You got me in a box here.
So you did see Eternals, Jordan?
I did, yes.
Cliff did not.
Yes. That's okay, though. Go ahead.
Out there on the Tuesday.
It's not okay unless we say it's okay. You can't absolve yourself. That's not how it works.
The Tuesday $6 movie.
Mm.
So I shouldn't complain about the conditions, but I might.
Yeah. You went to Marietta.
The guy having the coughing fit through the entire second act had to keep getting up and leaving. He was coughing so much. Made me feel real comfortable.
Yeah. Good.
But yeah,
so
a little behind the scenes of how this sausage gets made. Like, there's things like this movie that fall. This movie opened on a day we recorded.
Right.
So only Seth had seen it. Actually, Thursday. I guess it was Thursday nights. We recorded on a Friday, so neither of us had seen it.
Right.
So by the time 2 weeks go by till we record again, and it'll be another week for editing. So like it feels like old news already. But so a lot of you might be waiting for Disney Plus, so we won't spend too much time on it, and we won't spoil it either. So yeah, I thought it was fine. Some people have really bashed it. Some people have really praised it. I was somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
enjoyed it well
totally
enough.
in the middle. Oh, it was a little. I think I liked it better than it looked like it was going to be to me. So I was like, this was better. I expected not good. I like the. What did you think of the? Let's just jump right to the very end. The character popping in at the very end.
Well, let me complain again for being spoiled for that. Thanks to Bleeding Cool.
Oh.
Saturday morning. The movie opens on a Friday. Saturday morning, there were 2 articles. Just who is blank anyway, with a picture of a character.
Wow.
And it didn't say Eternals. It didn't say, but it was obvious what the context was of people like, wait, who is this person who popped it? So I literally have not been back to Bleeding Cool since that happened.
I dropped them a long time ago.
This movie was not precious to me in any way. It didn't spoil or ruin the movie for me. But like to put an article like that less than 24 hours after the movie comes out is, well, it's not really journalism anyway, but that's bad form to me. So I just stopped going to Bleeding Cool.
Oh yeah.
Well, I had it spoiled also, and I haven't even seen the movie because by the weekend I was flipping through TikTok at work one day, and the entire scene, both credit scenes had been posted. So I was just like, well, so much for that.
Can't go to Bleeding Cool. Can't go to TikTok. Where are you safe?
Both the main characters from both those scenes that were kind of revealed there. Those are both, and that's like in the first 10 issues of Avengers when I started reading, Avengers comics.
That's
so
definitely a very specific era.
Yes, that is and it's exactly when I started reading comics. So I'm just like, I was like, wow, just for me. I was just like, this is so perfect. So that was pretty great. Anyway, we're just talking about stuff nobody knows we're talking.
I wasn't spoiled that it was 157 minutes long. I had not heard that.
It's long.
So, yeah, over 2.5 hours. and it felt it. Yeah. It had some real slow moments.
Yeah.
And I saw that, like, the director Chloe Zhao she referenced westerns and like the 70s revisionist westerns. Like, there had been westerns for 30 years and they were all kind of cookie cutter, and she thought superheroes are in that same vein now. There's been so many of them. There's such a formula. We're so familiar. Now it's time to start doing revisionist takes on superheroes. And that sounds good, but I don't know that I felt that in this movie. It didn't change the game in any sort of meaningful way. It kind of like, it made their morality a little more complicated, and it wasn't all black and white of what their motives were, but that doesn't translate to better or more interesting.
Yeah. Similarly, I had mentioned a couple weeks ago that one of the characters isn't there in the climax, and I was like, I listened to an interview where she explained why, and it's just very, very briefly said in the movie, and she explained this really good explanation. I was like, that's not in your movie at all. Like,
he just kind of peace out.
Yeah, and I'm just like, I was like, I wish that was in the movie. What you're saying, I don't know. And how is the person that is the Flash not named Fastos? It's a very Justice League-y team we had.
Yes. Well, I guess my biggest problem, and I don't think it's too spoilerly, is involving these Celestials. Every time there was some image, I'm thinking 10 steps ahead. How do you do Galactus now?
Mm-hmm.
When you have a Celestial bigger than a planet and like this epic grand cosmic scale, like then what? Like, I've been waiting for Galactus. Like, we've all been waiting for Galactus, and now Galactus is like got to be something different now. I don't know. Not a cloud. Hopefully,
he's a cloud.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, well. So.
I really want to say something. But what's the Brian Tyree? What's his last name? Green or? Huh?
Brian Tyree Henry.
Henry, that's it. He played. He was Fastos, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I thought that they had some representation of a male couple, and that was pretty neat. Except there was one part where he was like, oh, what this great representation, and then at one point it shows that he blames himself for like one of the most terrible things. Everyone was like, this is not great representation. It was like to blame this all on him. Like, oh, okay, enough cryptic talk. What else did you guys see?
I saw, just last night, Ghostbusters Afterlife.
I remember Revelations. And I looked as he opened the sixth seal. There was a great earthquake. Judgment Day. Raise a call.
I'm calling about what happened in New York.
There hasn't been a ghost sighting in 30 years.
Oh my God. What is happening here?
My grandfather was a Ghostbuster. Something was coming and he knew it.
I think we opened the gates of hell. Hey, have you missed us?
Oh, good. Something else nobody's seen.
Something else nobody's seen.
That's all right. I don't even want to say it
for anybody. But I would just, Jordan was talking about his theater experience, and this was the first time we'd been to. We went to the mall, the Regal Theater,
Regal Beagle.
Yeah, over in Parkersburg. And Alicia and I did just by ourselves, and we quickly realized how long it had been.
Come and knock on my door.
since we've
been there. Waiting for you.
Yeah. And things are a little different there. They were it was almost a little awkward just because they've done a good job with like the touchless everything for the most part. You know, you pretty much buy your tickets online, pick your seats out, so you can pick them out to, you know, try your best not to really sit around anybody if possible. And so we went
hers and his, picking your seats.
And but it was kind of awkward because we were, I guess, you know, I have gotten used to the Marietta Theater, and like in their lobby, you can get your popcorn if you want it, or a drink. And then as you wait for your theater to go in, they have little tables out there you can kind of lean on, set your stuff down, you know, whatever. Well, they don't have this there. So we were just kind of, we got our stuff, and then we were just like, the guy said, "Hey, I just want to let you know, there's not really any time between when one showing ends and the other one starts." He's like, there's not enough time for like to go in and clean up and stuff. He said, so we can't let you in until about 10 minutes before the movie starts. I was like, okay. And then we had all our stuff and we had a little bit of time. I was like, what are we supposed to do with our stuff? Because there's nowhere to set it. There's, you know, you can't even sit down.
Wow.
It's just standing room only. It was very
awkward. What time, how much were you going to have to wait?
We had at least probably 15, 20
just
minutes.
Go over to Zales, try on some rings with the buttery fingers, and just kill some time.
So we ended up, we kind of walked up to like what would be the regular ticket booth that nobody was manning, and just kind of, there was a ledge there because they've kind of redone some of it with counters and stuff. And then when you actually get in, because they just scan your QR code, went right in, and I immediately noticed the hallway was kind of redone. New carpet, some new wall coverings and stuff. It looked nicer. It was a little brighter. So I was like, oh, it looks kind of different. That's cool, whatever. Anyways, we go in, sit down, realize, we were kind of talking about, it's been like 2 years since we've been here. And because Alicia's like, I forgot they had the recliner chairs and this and that. I was like, yeah, cool. This ought to be good. Because the movie, we'd looked it up, and it was going to be, I think it was a little over 2 hours. Like 124 minutes or something like that. So, plus previews, you're going to be there for a while. But, so everything was good as far as that goes. But I got to tell you, the whole place like smelled like one big fart. Like, I was just like, oh. Like, oh. Yeah, I was just like, can't we do
something strange in this neighborhood?
So anyway,
don't call us.
We got to the movie. I'm not going to give any of it away. It's directed by Jason Reitman, Ivan Reitman's son. We talk about working
moms.
Had a brain fart there for a minute. Working moms, Catherine Reitman.
I was joking. I thought I was trying to find a clever answer to working, and you really were.
Yes, that's where I was going. Catherine Reitman would be Ivan Reitman's other child. So her brother directed this movie. It was kind of appropriate because it's like all about family and legacy, and having the son of the original director come back to do this one was pretty cool. But as for the movie itself, it was super nostalgic, in a good way. It was a lot of fun. And, the girl, McKenna Grace, who plays Phoebe, she is the star of this movie. Like, she's going to be something. I'm telling you, she was so great in this part.
Are you saying there's a lady Ghostbuster?
There is a lady Ghostbuster. There might be a couple lady Ghostbusters, but
you lost me.
But this movie is better than Ghostbusters.
Egon doesn't like a lady Ghostbuster.
This movie is better than Ghostbusters 2.
Whoa.
Yes. Whoa. It made that monstrosity of a few years ago with the lady Ghostbusters. it made that thing laughable. And like, why did you waste money making? I thought, why did you waste money making that movie when you could have made this movie a few years before? But they did one. You know, it's got some cameos in it. A little bit more than cameos. This is about Egon's grandchildren. We know that from the trailer. And it's a great rebooting of the franchise. That's all I'm going to say. They take a lot from that first movie, bring a lot of most of that stuff back. It's a different place setting. We're not in New York anymore, but none of that matters. They did an excellent job of retelling some of that story and giving it some history from the original movies with, you know, with new characters from the future. So, it's got McKenna Grace, Finn Wolfhard, Logan Kim. He plays a character named Podcast, and he's great in it. He's a kid. He's great in it. Very funny. And then, of course, Paul Rudd is kind of he's the name of the cast. And he was fine.
I wish I really wanted to see this movie. It's like I've seen the trailer a couple times, and it's just like when he's like in the store making faces, like looking at the marshmallow guys or whatever. I'm just like, that looks so bad.
And that is such a small part of that movie.
Okay.
Which,
you've made me more interested in it, but I feel like somebody reviewed it and they did not like it, but they did say the same thing you said about McKenna Grace being really good in it, and she's been around for a while. You know, I'm glad. I believe that she's always been, come off like a good child actor. So it's nice to see that she's getting better and everything. But it's like, I don't know. I wish I was more interested.
I'll just say that if you like the original Ghostbusters,
I don't want to suffer for 2 hours.
No, if you like the original Ghostbusters at all, you're going to like this movie. It's not perfect. It doesn't.
I love the original Ghostbusters, but I don't fit. That's not what I see when I see the preview.
I honestly felt like they cut some stuff out. It's already 2 hours. It really felt like it could have been a little bit longer to me, and they could have filled some more stuff in, because it's pretty action packed and like keeps the story moving along at a good pace. Mm. But I still felt like, you could have established this a little better, but on the other hand, they did a wonderful job of using like that Ghostbuster, like those sounds from the movie, those, not the soundtrack itself, but just, the music, the score of it.
Yeah.
Just was on point. Like I was just like, it gave me all the feels just hearing at the perfect point, just playing those themes again. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is great. So,
well, that's good news. Good news, everybody.
Yes.
Yes or no? Ray Parker Jr.? Did we get a Ray Parker Jr.?
We got Ray Parker Jr.
Ray Parker Jr.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I had no doubt about that.
There's some other stuff in there that if you only saw the first trailer and just left it at that, you're going to be great. If you didn't see the last trailer, it might have given a little bit away, but there was some surprising like baddies in it too. So I really liked that. But yeah, I really highly enjoyed it. Alicia and she loved it too. We both were like, it ended. We sat through the credits. There is a mid-credit scene. And we just like, we're both sitting there and everybody's kind of getting up. I was like, man, that was fun. She goes, that was fun. And I was like, that's all I want in a movie. Just, entertain me for a couple hours and make it fun. And they did it.
Cool. You watch something else, Jordan?
Just a couple of streaming movies. Big one dropped on Netflix, Red Notice.
Special Agent John Hartley, FBI. Been tracking your scores for a while now. Every city, every heist. Now that you've been tagged with red notices, you've become the world's most wanted criminals. And I'm the only one who can bring you in.
Where'd you get that jacket? It's a statement piece. Somewhere there's a very nude cow whispering, worth it.
Looking for something specific or just browsing?
You're under arrest.
Oh my God. Read the room.
Girls will keep the secret.
You want to arrest me?
So long the boys make a noise.
Arrest me.
I just want the egg.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see me watching this.
This had a $200 million budget. The biggest Netflix has done for a single movie so far.
Well, then it must be good.
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Reinhold Reynolds, and Gal Gadot as three. I said this. It felt kind of rare. Of like, this was just one of those movies where there's a bunch of movie stars and they're doing what people love about them. Ryan Reynolds is, yucking it up. Dwayne Johnson is doing the action.
Rocking it up.
Yeah. Gal Gadot is doing her,
Gadot it up.
Her sultry sort of action hero thing. And it's like, people love these aspects of these actors and they're going to give it to you for 2 hours. But it was very Netflixy. There's several, it's a globe spanning crime caper kind of thing, but there's a lot of green screen and some really cheap looking. For $200 million, there's some fairly cheap looking effects. I enjoyed it well enough for a Netflix movie. Like I said, just sit down and watch it for a while. There's a few good moments of like, he jumps in the car and we're gonna have this amazing chase scene, and like somebody crashes into the side of him, and it subverts some of the action cliches a little bit in some clever ways. And I think Dwayne Johnson's funny. I'm sorry to be honest, I'm kind of sick of Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, I was just going to say, you were like saying how we got what Ryan Reynolds does. It's like, yes, I'm so sick of him playing that same character in everything now.
Yeah,
he used to do things.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, but he used to do other things. And as soon as he did Deadpool, that's all we get is Deadpool.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was a bunch of pop culture references and quick little snarky things. I'm like, wow, I kind of just want him to shut up for a minute.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fine. It's not terrible. It'll be somewhere in the middle of my list next year for movies of the year.
That's pretty good, actually. But
yeah, I it just as an action movie, it was a fun movie.
Okay.
And the other one I
good
watched
news.
a new documentary in the Music Box series from HBO. We all enjoyed that, the Woodstock 99 documentary that they did. This is the second in the series. It's called Jagged. It is about Alanis Morissette recording Jagged Little Pill in 1995, which sold 33 million copies. They had a stat at one point, like 1 in every 10 Americans owned a copy of this. It was
I love that album.
Yeah,
I love it to death.
I still listen to it.
I do too. It's so funny because a friend of mine just a couple months ago was over here. We were talking, and he's a metalhead or whatever. But I was like, something came up about our favorite albums. We were like, what's your top 5 favorite albums? So we both sat there and thought. And that was one of his top. It was one of the first ones he named was Jagged. I mean, it's the last thing you would have expected him to say. And I was it's definitely in my top 20. Like I love that album also. So
yeah, after watching this, it's in my car right now. I had to listen to it this morning on the way to work.
I can't wait to watch that.
There's archival footage of like big sweaty dudes in the front row, like other hand is tailing a taxi cab, and they're like headbanging and like, it's not like Lilith Fair. It was aimed at women, but the crowds were massive.
I'm a little disappointed. I didn't know this had come out this week.
Oh,
I've been waiting on it to come out. I didn't think it was out yet, honestly. I can't wait to watch it.
I watched it the day it dropped just so I could make sure to mention it.
Is this the one, though, that I felt like there was some controversy I had heard in the last few weeks where she didn't approve something that was coming out about her. And I don't remember whether it was this one or not.
I remember seeing some headlines about that. But she is interviewed throughout the whole, like, you see more of her than anyone else. So she's definitely telling her story.
Oh, yeah.
It's the 12th best-selling album ever, and the second best by a female artist after. Anybody know?
Okay, what?
Female artist?
Best-selling female artist album.
Taylor Swift.
Britney Spears.
Well, up to this point, like Adele has that maybe outsold it now by now, and there's a few, but up until 1995.
Oh. Woman up till 1995. Yeah, Madonna's a pretty good guess.
Yeah.
No, Whitney Houston.
Yes, Bodyguard soundtrack, Whitney Houston.
Yeah.
Boom. We've said that before, so I knew it was it. I was like, I know he's asking us for a reason. We brought this up. Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. Again, I haven't thought about her in a while, and I knew every word of that album. Everyone I know owned it.
Yeah.
And it's a good look back. Like, there's some footage of her as like a teen pop, you can't do that on television era when she was like 12.
Right.
And then when she's about 15, she's the mall, big permed hair, singing about boys, like a teeny.
Yeah. Debbie Gibson.
Tiffany.
Debbie Gibson. Yeah. And then at some point she didn't want to do that anymore. And her record label's like, no, do the thing that people like you doing. She's like, I don't want to do that. So it's about her kind of breaking out. But when she hit, she was like 21. She was a kid still. And so there's some interesting footage, and they talked to her bandmates, one of whom was Taylor Hawkins, who went on to be in the Foo Fighters.
Uh-huh.
And he's talking about this, like his first big tour and all the stuff they got up to on tour. So again, it's interesting footage, and it's interesting to hear her as a more mature voice now, looking back on her having this insane experience when she's very, very young.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch it. Sounds good. Good news.
Did you, Seth? You have an Apple Plus, right?
Yeah.
Did you watch that new Tom Hanks movie, Finch?
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched that just the other night. I liked it. I'm not sure why, but
it was fine.
Yeah, it had some Castaway.
Yeah, I don't like to say that. I've heard people say that, and I'm just like, Castaway's in my top 100. Like, this doesn't touch Castaway. Castaway is a great movie. Finch is a weak facsimile of that type of thing, but I don't know. I thought that robot sounded like Borat.
It did at first, yeah. Yeah. I wrote down it was Caleb Landry Jones.
Yeah, Caleb Landry Jones. I can't remember what else he was in. He was in something.
He was
recently.
Banshee on X-Men.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to. He's been in live action stuff also, but
no,
he's a good actor. But he did a fine job. It was just a lot of, just like he said, that one Red Nose was Netflixy. This was Apple-y. Just nothing feels. When it seems like whenever people make these movies for these streaming services, they're just not quite the quality of something that makes the theater. It just never feels quite like they spent enough time on the story, even the writing. It's like it doesn't come through.
Yeah, I spent the first half of the movie just trying to understand what in the world was the cause of this.
Well, I was
post-apocalyptic.
You had to be like, okay, what's the thing? Was this after nuclear war?
Right.
Yeah. It's climate change, but it's just climate change. And those were interesting things, but it's basically just I don't know.
Guy and his
it is.
robot.
I won't say. Yeah, guy and his robot and his dog. It was fine.
So
not much to say about it. It's Tom Hanks. He's a treasure. I watched it because I still enjoy watching Tom Hanks.
That was it. I was just like, oh, it's Tom Hanks. Like, I'm gonna watch this. Yeah. So and he was good enough that I was like, yeah, okay, it was fine. Yeah. So I watched that. Watched over on the Disney Plus side. Speaking of streaming, I finally got to watch Jungle Cruise. Came out on Disney Plus Day. November the 12th. So I've been waiting to see that because I didn't want to pay to see it because I wasn't really sure that it was going to be any good. But this was The Rock and Emily Blunt. And so one of their latest Disney attraction movies, based off Jungle Cruise The Ride. And I thought it was pretty good. It wasn't really... in a way, I didn't know what to expect, but they didn't just hit you in the face with, oh, this is from The Ride. It was a little bit more subtle, I felt, and worked into the story a little better than some of their attraction movies can be. And he was fine. Emily Blunt's pretty good in it. There was some backlash when this thing came out because they changed gender of Trader Sam to a woman, and one of the main characters is gay without them saying he's gay. They got some backlash from the usuals on that, but overall it was pretty good. I wasn't able to I didn't have it all figured out by the time the big reveal, I guess, happened. So that was good. It kept me in suspense a little bit. On that, the story was original enough that I was like, okay, this is okay with me. It didn't ruin the ride at all. And the hokey jokes and that stuff. A ride I've ridden 100 times and just rode my last, a month ago, on my last trip. So, but yeah, if you're looking for something to watch new and you have Disney Plus, doesn't cost you anything extra now, so I would watch it. If you're any type of Disney fan, you'll get it. So,
cool.
Did you guys happen to watch the Spider-Man trailer? Either one of you? No.
Nope.
No.
I don't want to watch them this late. I still saw screenshots here and there go across my timeline. I hate the lighting. I'll tell you that. Like every screenshot I see is like freaking daylight, poorly, just not.
It's like
it doesn't look good. Yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't look.
You guys want to come over and make a Spider-Man movie?
Yeah.
You got a ring light. We're good.
Yeah. I don't know. That's just a small complaint, but who knows what's going to... I'm obviously going to watch it. I hope it's good. I hope I have good news after I see it.
I hope you do too.
Hey, I read this whole stack of books here I've got. So one of them has to do with some TV.
Book it.
Yeah, let's book it here.
Children who love to read can grow to new heights, expand their knowledge by discovering new worlds, stretch their imagination by reaching for the stars. Book It is a reading incentive program that encourages young people to read. Support your children's participation in their school's Book It program. Or to find out how to enroll their school, write to this address. When your child loves to read, almost anything can happen.
So a couple of them have something to do with TV. So there's a Amazon Prime.
I only read things that have to do with TV.
Yeah. Amazon Prime, the fantasy series. Here's the first book, Eye of the World, from the Wheel of Time series. So every book in this series is like 650 pages. I don't think they all necessarily need to be that long, but that guy was dedicated to them being that big. Anyway,
I've seen a lot of advertisement for this. They're putting a lot of eggs in this basket, so have it.
Yeah, I
must have a legion of fans out there.
Yeah, I mean, apparently it's one of the most beloved fantasy series of all time, and I mean, I'd heard of it here and there, but never read it. In fact, didn't
and
know
on my
anybody.
other arm, I've got a new.
Yeah, now I have the wheel. But anyway,
That's what he's going to Columbus for.
Definitely. I was like, okay, I want to watch this show, but I want to be a smug book reader, so I need to read some of the books. So I read the first book and the second book, Great Hunt, and I feel like that should prepare me enough. Except the series is 14 books. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Too many books.
Too many books. Too many books.
You can only be so smug. You can't be 14 books smug.
We'll see how smug I allow myself to get. It's fine. The books are pretty good. But we were talking about Dune influencing everything. These books are like obviously heavily influenced by Dune. And there's a whole just like the Bene Gesserit from Dune, there's the Aes Sedai and the Wheel of Time, and it's women are the powerful, they do the magic, and except there is, could be a guy that might be able to do it too. I mean, it's just like big time Dune. And anyway,
some of that big Dune energy
does have some big Dune energy. It also, honestly, it heavily influenced the Wheel of Time. Heavily influenced Dragon Age. Whenever they created Dragon Age, I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much Dragon Age in this. Kind of threw me for a loop that I'd never really heard of it much. Anyway, the show came out today, and it was really good. I was very good news, guys. Very pleasantly surprised. The effects were they threw money at it, and it actually hit the screen. The effects were really cool. The music was good. The casting was good. Rosamund Pike plays the main Aes Sedai, like the Rebecca Ferguson type character from Dune. And she's great. Like, so it's funny because there's like a couple different speeches from the book that she says in the show, and it's like, wow, she's really good at this. She did a great job. So they dropped the first 3 episodes today, and the first one was the best, but overall I'm very impressed with what they were able to pull. It's not Game of Thrones, but it's not very many steps below that as far as a fantasy series adaptation. I think fans will be happy with it. As far as they changed a few minor things. They kind of created more of a mystery about, like, there's supposed to be someone had been born who is the dragon reborn. Someone has been reborn and is going to save the world type thing, and they don't know who it is, and they kind of create a bigger mystery about it in the show than they do in the first couple of books of the series. But for all I know, that it changes somewhere through the book series. I don't know. Anyway, if you have any interest in it, I think it's worth checking out. If you're a fantasy fan, it's pretty cool. The other stuff I read, I'm going to surprise you, Jordan, because these are all things you've been reading, I believe. I read Friday. Did you read this?
Yes.
Tell us about it. What is it?
It's another one in that genre that has just recently become a genre of former, like, kid detective stories.
Yeah.
Like Encyclopedia Brown or any of those who are set after all that, where they've grown up. So we've come across a few films and stories like that. So this is in that same vein as a comic book.
Ed Brubaker and Martin or Martine from Private Eye and stuff. I thought it was really good. Look, it's like first volume of 3. I think
it's on that Panel Syndicate, so it's a web strip.
Oh, okay.
So you can probably read ahead.
It's been coming out.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm sure there's more online. It's one of those pay what you want sort of things. Like collects the first 3 chapters. A girl comes back to her hometown after, and he said it's kind of the perpetually the early 1970s of his childhood, the writer. And it's, the fashion and the technology, everything's a little bit, it's a Riverdale kind of feel. Everything's a little bit antiquated, but that gives it a nice aura to it.
The other thing, it was good. The other thing I went and read through the whole Hawkeye thing to prepare for the new show.
I'm about
all hyped up.
Halfway through.
Yeah. Good job, bro. It's great. It's good stuff. Matt Fraction. It's good. Good stuff. So now we're going to get all the references that they put in there.
So that's the end of the month?
Next week. Next Wednesday.
Next week.
This week. This week.
This week. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. Yes. Yeah. The future. But very hyped about that. And I feel like finally we're going to get what Jeremy Renner is going to shine in this kind of Hawkeye. So this I expect this to be. I'm very excited about it. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be the greatest thing ever, but if they get anywhere close to the vibe of the comic, and I love that it's going to be Christmassy and show what it's like to be the human Avenger that takes bumps and bruises and what's happening between his very important missions and things. Very, very excited about that. And the last thing I read was all of the Marvels.
Wow.
Did you finish that?
Yeah, I brought it to the store. I was going to let you borrow it, but you jumped and got it.
I couldn't stand it. I had to read it because I like comics history and stuff. And this guy read all the Marvels. And I thought it was good. It was really good.
Like 500,000 pages worth of artwork over
that's crazy.
Decades and decades and decades.
I wasn't sure what to expect, how he was going to attack it. I honestly thought he was going to give me all the cosmic history and that was not what it was.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was at the dawn of time, the Celestials existed, or if it was going to be the 1950s were a time of atomic energy. Like I didn't know whether it was comic nerd history or American history, and it wasn't really either of them. It's very geared toward newer readers or rookie readers. Like if you want to dive in, because I talk to people all the time who are intimidated. What should I read first? Where should I start? What should what's a good place to dive into this? And he has a good answer of it doesn't matter. Everywhere you got to dive in somewhere. So he kind of gives you a few roadmaps and a few options of things to do, and made some connections I hadn't really thought about before. So I definitely, it wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be, but I definitely enjoyed the book.
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. And it was much more of the things I knew about, but that's kind of comforting anyway. You read something, you're like, I know what he's talking about here. I can remember these stories. And he's, like you said, tying things together and going through some of the big characters and their whole story, just like all the main beats of their story. And it's like Spider-Man, for instance, just going through that whole chapter of everything. It really kind of makes the world smaller for that character. It feels more, because sometimes I'm like I really like Spider. Okay, I'm not Cliff, but it's like it feels overwhelming, and he makes it not feel overwhelming to talk about what has happened. It's like, when you really go through the main beats of Spider-Man, it's not. There's
that was one of the things, for me feeling like I have a pretty good handle on Spider-Man's history. the way he broke it down, I had literally never thought of before.
Yeah.
Of there being segments of his life where, when he's a kid, the first 100 issues, it's all about father figures. J. Jonah Jameson and missing Uncle Ben, Norman Osborn, Doc Ock. Like he's looking for a father figure, and they're all trying to be villains, and he can't connect with anybody. And then the second chapter of his life is all about himself and shadow versions of himself, the Venom symbiote, the clone saga, all this stuff of like who is he as a character. And then the third later segment is like the family, meeting Miles, settling down with Mary Jane, having the Spider-Verse, all the, him being on the Avengers, like being settled. So it's like childhood, young adulthood, and then adulthood of like, and no one set out to like, now it's time for a new epic of Spider-Man. Like that just happens through hundreds of creators and years of continuity, and it just sort of forms. What she's saying is, this is like nothing else in the world of art.
Right.
Film can't do this. TV can't do this. Novels can't do that. Like, it's an organic, ever-growing, ever-changing story that's still just one thing. It's still just one story. That's amazing.
It is. It makes you like, I remember a guy years ago I used to work with. This was like towards the beginning of, back when Iron Man came out and stuff like that. People were getting a little excited about comic stuff, and he was asking me things, and he was like so jealous. He was like, I wish that I had all those years of experience with this. Like, he wanted to know about it, but he knew that it was just like, he can't go back and have read all those comics. I was like, and I remember being like, you don't have to, just just start reading some stuff, like you can't possibly, no one can just go back and do it all, even though this guy did it. But it's like you don't have to.
Didn't. His mission was not smugness like yours.
Right.
He didn't seem like he was very blasé of like, yeah, this kind of sucked and this was fun and this is pointless. And I really like the story about his kid at the end of like sharing some of this stuff with his kid who never really showed interest in comics. Yeah,
that was very interesting. Meanwhile, I would walk into your store with my kid, and he would just go sit down and didn't give a crap. There was a time when he would get this Franklin Richards because they were like Calvin and Hobbes, and he loved Calvin and Hobbes. But that's just so funny. You never know. You can't force anything on your kids. They're not gonna like it. And I thought was funny though, I like his theory about the one character that the Marvel Universe was about being Linda Carter.
Yeah.
the nurse, not Wonder Cliff's eyes brightened up. Not Wonder Woman.
Oh.
Not L.Y.
You lost
me. Linda Carter, the nurse. They ended up being like the night nurse, and in there. But just because they had those like comics could have been about anything. Like they just happened to be about superheroes, but originally they were like girls gonna be nurses and going to school.
That's the other thing that really blew my mind, is how that had never occurred to me. That idea that, before 1961 and Fantastic Four, Marvel had been producing comics for a decade that had nothing to do with superheroes.
Right.
Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko, Stan Lee, they've been doing monster comics, humor comics, romance comics, war comics, and his theory is like all of those and that decade of experience is what fed into Fantastic Four and They didn't set out to make a superhero comic. They make, they in the superhero genre, they added the humor and the romance and the monsters. Like they did every genre.
Yeah.
And that's why it worked so much. And that's why it wasn't as square and, wrote as some of the DC stuff was at that time. And that they had quips of the humor, and they had, horror comics. Like
that's exactly why I love
it. Was a little bit of everything.
It's exactly why I preferred Marvel, because it was not so dry to me. And but I love the idea. It was just like, he's like, I could totally see us this many years later being so invested in all the different nursing school comics that would be a whole universe of nursing comics. Anyway, it was a really good book, and I would recommend it to any level of comic reader, like you're saying. And this would be a great guide to a new comic reader to read these chapters of which character is interesting to you, and they easily go find those stories and things. I thought he did a really good job.
And there's a little bit of that, like mapping a few things, like the famous issue in Fantastic Four. They go back to Egypt and fight Ramatut. And then 10 years later, the Avengers went to the same place, and it becomes that like Back to the Future 2.
Oh yeah.
How many people are here at this time, watching Marty McFly? Like it's these central points they come back to and they build on and they retcon and they change. And that was a nice example to show like that one little moment in ancient Egypt has been played over and over about 25 times in the history.
Yeah, it's great. Really good stuff.
All right.
That's it. That's all the books.
That's all the books you got?
Yeah, it's about 30,000 pages or something. But some of it's comics.
Well, the only other thing I really watched in the last couple of weeks was Young Justice Season 4. Young Justice Phantoms has come out on HBO Max. I don't think either one of you guys have watched any of this show, but it has it's had a pretty big following. It's done a nice job of, because it's been several years since season 1 now. It's kind of grown up. I feel like it's grown up with a lot of the audience, I think, as it's went on. So they've got, I think, 4 episodes out as of now. But I made a comment to you guys this week because I started watching it, and they've done a really nice job dealing with some heavier issues so far this season. Like, they've touched on some stuff before, but there's a lot of bigotry and racism that takes place as a couple, Miss Martian and Superboy, travel to Mars, back to her home planet. And there's a lot of racism going on between white and green Martians, and their roles in society and how one kind of has held the other one down and stuff. So, and they've worked some other stuff in there with some PTSD stuff with Beast Boy, and there's a pretty big plot point that happens with one of the characters, all in the same time, where we're getting a story, kind of a B story currently with Artemis back on Earth, going up against the League of Shadows. They have kidnapped Orphan, and she is dealing with a couple of former League of Shadows people that come to her for help when she knows one of them's a mole, and they have to go find Orphan and try and rescue her and stuff. So very, like I said, it's grown up a lot. There's a lot more adult themes in it, but it's really, for a cartoon show, it's been really good. I'm really glad it's on HBO Max now, because they can do a little bit more with it. But
and there's probably more people finding it. Yes, that's true. Season 1 originally ran on Cartoon Network, then it was brought back 2 or 3 years later on the now defunct DC Universe app. And that was kind of their big thing. One of their big things they announced with that app was they were bringing that show back. And season 2 was really good. It was Blue Beetle focused. That's when they introduced the Light and the Reach. It was a really good season, really written well and thorough. And then last season they tried to introduce a bunch Outsiders. They did introduce some newer characters, and it wasn't as familiar for me, and so I didn't like it as much. Like, I still recognized it was pretty good, but it just wasn't, I don't think it was really what I was looking for, whereas this season has been much better. So that's out. If you have HBO Max, go watch season 4 of Young Justice. Highly recommend it. I almost forgot to bring up the most important bit of TV news I wanted to talk about was a Taco Bell commercial.
Oh, yeah.
I was watching the Fox animated shows on Sunday night. I had taped them. I was fast forwarding, watching The Great North, the animated show from Bob's Burgers creators. And I'm fast forwarding through the commercials. So they're zipping by, and something caught the corner of my eye. And I said, wait, what, huh? And I rewound it. I'm like, okay, so we get a commercial from Taco Bell for the double steak grilled cheese burrito. And they've done one of these before. It's like a girl meets a guy on the beach. No, wait, she's hungry for tacos. So she leaves him and goes to Taco Bell instead. Haha, that's funny. This one was a cosplayer at a train station. And she sees another guy dressed in the same costume. It's a meat cute. Oh, wait, no, she wants taco meat instead. So she goes to Taco Bell and gets a burrito. And I thought, okay, that's weird cosplay. Why does that look familiar? She has ears and horns. That kind of looks like... So I rewind it again. And she's holding a shield with a bat, the face of a bat on it, which is the exact logo from Saga. Yeah. I'm like, this is not an approximation. This is exactly...
Marco
from Saga. And so I had to rewind it again. I'm like, wait, what is happening?
Am I asleep?
Yeah,
it's like, is this a dream?
Yeah.
When you shared that, I was just like, it was like if they were using, to me, I mean, it felt like, is that the Ka-Pow logo? What, it's like, what, it just seemed impossible that it was happening.
Because you could do a fairy wings and whatever, like you could do any kind of generic cosplay. Why do this? So I watch it one more time and I pause on the fine print and it says copyright Saga 2021, Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. Like they paid for this copyrighted character, but it didn't say read Saga from Image Comics. Like it was not a commercial for Saga. It was for tacos.
Oh yeah, it was Taco Bell coming to them,
Yeah. But also, that book is the least commercial. I mean, it's a huge bestseller, but like, I mean, I guess they do have some action figures and T-shirts and stuff, but like, it's not all over. It's not Spawn. It's not like I don't know. It's not.
It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
And I don't know that Brian K. Vaughan has a big social media presence. Like I've Googled it a couple times looking. I just saw a few articles like, yeah, that's weird.
I follow him on Instagram, and he hadn't put anything about it.
Yeah, I would love to hear the story of how this came to be or why this came to be.
He's still hung up that they canceled Y the last minute.
It's what it
but
is.
It's just like, I don't know whether it's just they saw that somebody cosplayed as Marco, and they were like, there, we want to use that.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, but... It's again, we don't have any perspective. This is one of those things where it's just like, people don't know about this, right?
Yeah. But it's like, huge. Okay, it's got us talking about it, but yeah, how many more people are tweeting about it or talking about tacos than if you had just used something generic? I don't know.
I don't think anybody got anything out of it, but we were just like, what?
Yeah, it was like 11 at night. I'm like, I have to post this. I don't even care if anybody sees it, but I have to record that this happened for posterity.
Yeah, right. So when it's huge later, because someday Saga will be something in the mainstream, I would assume.
We'll see.
We'll see. We'll see. He's still skeptical. He just watched the goddamn Taco Bell commercial.
Yeah.
It's still like, nope.
If Taco Bell in mainstream, I don't know what is.
I only eat artisanal tacos that you've never heard of.
True.
Speaking of one more superhero show I'll get to, the finale of Supergirl.
Oh,
6
the series.
Seasons. I stuck with it. I watched all 6 seasons.
You're
last
dedicated.
few, I fast forwarded through quite a bit of it, looking for commercials I wanted to see. But I stuck it out. I wanted to stick through the end. I was committed enough to it, and I will say, super strong ending.
Oh,
last season,
I bet nobody else has used that adjective.
Yeah, well, super. This last season was all about Nixley, who was like some cousin of Mr. Mixie-Spidlick, another fifth dimensional imp that was a female villain, and there were these totems. They had to get all the totems to form a one soul something or other. It was basically Infinity Gauntlet.
Mm-hmm.
And if you got the love and hope and whatever totems all together, you would have ultimate power over humans.
You form Bebo.
Exactly. Bebo shows up, Care Bear Stare happens, and the world ends. But so it made no sense. Lex Luthor fell in love with her. They had like a team up between Lex and Nixley. Whatever, it doesn't matter. But the finale, there was a big 2-part finale, and as Lex and Nixley are launching their final assault, these imps can change reality, so they were able to bring in a whole bunch of old villains. Metallo showed up, the Parasite, Red Tornado, the Red Sun, Supergirl. So we got callbacks to all these villains from previous seasons.
Was it the bad Red Tornado from the first?
Yes.
Oh my God.
The evil Red Tornado.
Why would they ever bring that back?
Nostalgia, baby.
Oh, remember how terrible that was with the red makeup and.
It was it wasn't it was a very short little fight scene. But so on the good guy side, Mon-El came back from the future.
Mm-hmm.
Wynn came back. Remember, the tech guy had jumped to the future. Sexy James Olsen returned.
Nice. Drop that right here.
I read books and work out.
James Olsen. It's okay. I can be trusted with the big secret. Meet her back at the office. James Olsen.
You like Jimmy Olsen.
James Olsen.
I read books and work out.
James Olsen.
In his shape from Mortal Kombat, the guy is jacked. He is enormous.
He's super sexy, James Olsen.
Yes, he is. He is super. So he came back for a while, and then the biggest return, Calista Flockhart.
I was just going to ask that. Yes.
It was obvious she wasn't even on the same continent as them. It was all filmed on green screen. She was on a telephone. Kara, I got to get in touch with you. Like it was just her on a telephone, but it was fun to see her again. Mm-hmm. She kind of made that whole first season, whatever. But I'll get the worst moment or cameo. Helen Slater came back as their mom, and obviously played Supergirl in the 80s movie, and they're all fighting. She's got a shotgun. She's shooting a shotgun. She's like, "You'd think in another world I was Kryptonian." And Alice kind of winks and goes, "Only in the movies, Mom." It's like, oh, stop it. That's not good. But anyway, so we have these cheesy moments. We have these callbacks. We have these cameos. It's anything you'd expect in a finale of a show. But then it turned so hard that the whole point of this show, the girl power stuff, the feminism, the people said it's become too political. Like that's been the whole show for the last 4 seasons.
Yeah.
But the main thrust of it is that the whole idea of becoming your authentic self, not living a lie, being who you are, being proud of who you are, and not ashamed. And that's been Alex's whole journey, coming out as a lesbian from the early days of the show. When Dreamer came in as a trans person, there was a whole storyline with her sister, because the power of the Dreamer is passed down from mother to daughter. And so this sister had trained her whole life to get it, and it went to Nia instead. And at one point her sister yells, "You're not even a real woman." And so that estranges the two. So the sisters have to come back and work things out, and and prove this whole family bond and all this stuff. And Alex and her girlfriend or fiance adopt this little girl, Esme, who is an alien, who's got these powers that are out of control and can't handle. And so Supergirl advocates to put power dampeners on her, because that's what they did for her. Because when she was young, her powers were out of control, and she was afraid she'd hurt someone. And Alex is like, "We're not doing that to my child. We're not going to tell her she's wrong or that she's broken in some way. Like, she is who she is, and she's going to live her life that way authentically." And it's like, holy cow! Every character gets that arc in this show about being themselves. And at this point, Supergirl is still putting on her glasses and going to work and pretending to be Kara. And that's what Cat Grant calls her out of. Is like, you are the only one not being authentic. You are living a lie, and it's hurting yourself. And you're not living your life to full potential. And at one point, she's like, "That secret identity is stupid. Stop it." And so this show ends basically throwing the whole superhero convention on its head, saying that whole "I am Iron Man" thing. She's like, to be fully myself, I have to come out and be both halves of my personality to the world. And it kind of says these last 6 seasons have been a mess, and I've been doing it wrong. I'm being a superhero wrong, and here's how to do it better. Instead of fighting, I should be an inspiration. And it's like, it was really bold to come out and say, that the whole idea of superheroes, there's something inherently kind of off about it, and there's a better way we could be doing this if we would just try. But then again, then it ends immediately. We don't have to try to do it that way. We don't have to try to make an interesting show about a well-adjusted person. So we can just end on a hopeful note. We don't have to actually do the hard work. But I applaud it for trying and taking such a huge swing at the end of this long run of a show that was frustrating more often than not, but did something truly original in the CW superhero genre for sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It reminds me of that first season it was on CBS.
Yeah.
It was a completely different show. And, CBS had all the money to put into it, and they had the big, had a big name on it. And I didn't like that first season at all. I thought the show was terrible. And then it went to CW, and a year or two into CW, and it had started, it was a different show.
Yeah, for sure.
And it was for the better. So the CW has done some nice things with those themes on a lot of their shows. But I'm glad that Supergirl finally, that in a lot of ways it may have been some of the best superhero moments on that network. So good on them.
And it ends in a way, nothing is super final. She could still show up in one of the crossovers or on Superman and Lois. Like, she doesn't fly off to some other planet or whatever. So she's still around. It was just kind of a happy ending for everybody.
Told the story that it wanted to tell.
Right.
Well, I think it's going to be another super long episode here, like we've been doing lately. So we've just had so much to talk about. So, anybody got anything else?
Nope.
Okay.
Unless you want to talk Tiger King season 2.
I am not watching that unless somebody freaking Clockwork Oranges me.
I never watched the first one, but it was the
you're
biggest
better
thing.
off for it.
Yeah, it was the biggest thing in the world.
I actually, after we got home from the movies last night, we were just sitting around looking for something to turn on. And I turned on episode 1. We watched a few minutes of it. It was terrible.
I could not care less about those people. I have such a bad taste in my mouth about how anybody could watch that. It's just like, they started all this.
Yeah.
It feels like that started all this.
We were a captive audience when that thing came out.
Who is nostalgic for that point? Who wants to relive those early days of the pandemic?
We were all stuck in a lockdown, and that was one of the very few things new that was out and gave people something entertainment to talk about. And if anything never needed a season 2, it was probably this damn show. So.
Yeah, there's plenty more. There's always some new show debuting or streaming or whatever, networking. And we'll catch as many as we can. We might miss a few, but we'll be back with more as soon as we can. How was that for a wrap up? Does that make any sense?
That works.
Okay, let's go home. Yeah. Good night, everybody. My name is Jordan
Cliff Barnes.
I'm already home. So, bye forever.
Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Sounds, music, and clips played during the podcast are property of copyright holders. All original content is property of www.udownwithkpp.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave a comment. Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found. You can connect with us through social media on Facebook, YouTube, at the Ka-Pow Podcast on Twitter, or email the show, Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, @gmail.com. If you really want to go the extra mile, join our Patreon at patreon.com/udownwithkpp for special content and access to Patreon-only benefits. We are grateful for anyone who chooses to contribute, but please know that most of our content will remain free. So please continue to like, comment, and share.